What's up? This is a quick guide for map 12. It's a grass full speed track with a couple of speed slides and a cool trick at the end. The current world record is held by Pustito Paco with a 36:11. We start off with action keys 1 if you are on keyboard, which is 20% steering angle if I am not mistaken. After a rather short time period, we steer left and aim to get as close to the wall of the booster as we can. Shortly after the booster, we want to turn action keys back off while releasing steering as the car shifts into 4th gear. Now we tap left slowly to keep the speed slide with our tire tracks mostly overlapping so that we are barely in a slide. If we look at this from the top, we can understand how the timing of where we start steering affects our line. If we start steering early, we also have to stop steering early to avoid the booster. This puts us too far to the right. If we steer too late, we don't get as close to the block as possible, which just means we are driving a longer distance and we have to steer more. This will cost us some time. After the first speed slide left, comes another one to the right, which also involves cutting the corner a little to get a better angle on the following turn. Here we cannot avoid lots of steering, as we aim to get as close to the first corner as possible. The world record misses the second corner slightly because he overshoots a little. Now he has to put in lots of steering to the left, which he then has to cancel by also steering to the right more aggressively after the checkpoint. There might still be a possibility to get a speed slide left and then right instead, but it would require a tighter turn on the slope. To investigate this, let's compare Elcon 21 and Pustito Paco. In order to get the tighter turn at the top, he has to run wider before it, which forces him to take a steeper approach. This loses him more time than he is able to make up with the speed slides. At the first corner cut, he is 1 tire length behind, but he loses roughly 1 additional tire length to the turnover, so this just might be slower. The fastest line of the top 5 records up to the checkpoint in the turnover actually comes from Fixate, who cuts the first corner on the slope. This lets him catch up with Pustito Paco, who does not cut this corner. Now comes the turnover. You can actually lose quite a bit of speed here if you are not careful. Most important is probably the entry. We want to avoid having to steer left too much on the way up because sliding really eats up your speed. Instead, we approach as close to the sign as we can and steer left to get a steeper angle so that we can drive up mostly straight. After that setup, we tap right to cancel any sliding that may be occurring and then left as we are stabilizing up on the top. If we do this right, we pass far left under the checkpoint. After coming back down, the world record manages to squeeze in 2 small speed slides, first right, then left. I'm not quite sure how much speed that gains, but I'm impressed. This corner is kind of hard to line up, so I don't want to stare at my tire tracks here. As he is starting to pass the second row of lights, Pustito Paco starts putting in lots of left steering and gets close to touching the penalty area. As you are coming up, you can use this small tree to orient yourself. You want to pass on the right with a bit of room to spare, so that you can avoid touching the penalty area entirely. The world record steers right as soon as the road starts leveling out and loses ground contact shortly. As soon as he gets closer to the edge, he needs to align himself to avoid just flying off straight, so he steers back left and as soon as he is on the slope part of the block, back to the right. This left-right combo feels more natural the more often you have done it. As he gets back onto the flat section, Pustito Paco adjusts the overlap of his tire tracks back to be around 90% for another small speed slide before the loop. For this next section, we just need to be aware of this rather tight right turn leading to the checkpoint. We set up to the left to make sure we can start the turn way early so that we can carry as much speed as possible. The surface makes it a bit hard to recognize, but I'm pretty sure Pustito Paco manages to get in another speed slide during the initial left turn. He has to start the right turn before he is next to the block on the right and he gets incredibly close to the wall on exit. Now we take the right turn and go up the wall right. There is a bit of a wiggle upon transitioning through the curved part of the road, but I'm not sure entirely why. It might be for the speed gain, but I think it is more likely that it is for not losing ground contact. Now comes the trick to get into the goal faster. In order to understand why this works, I need to tell you that the reactor always pushes the car downwards and forwards. If we angle the car a little, we can turn this into purely forwards thrust. The record crosses under the checkpoint far on the left and taps right once to get a shallower angle. Now he steers left and taps brake upon losing ground contact. From my experience, the brake tap does help a little, but not everyone is going for it and I don't think it is faster. First, the bottom of the car is facing right, which means the reactor will push us in that direction a little. Due to the front being slightly lifted, we gain more forwards thrust right from the start. This will add up over the entire flight and makes for a substantial difference. As we are roughly halfway upside down, we need to switch the direction we steer in to prevent ourselves from over-rotating and being launched off to the side. If we watch this from the perspective of the normal run, you can see how the other cars are overtaking us with a massive speed even though there was not a big difference on liftoff. Now we just need to learn how to do it all rather quickly without messing up. As far as cuts go, I think this one was not actually that difficult. Just make sure you don't brake too early or too long because it will easily cost you 0.2 seconds. Alright, that's all I got. Bye.